I don't know what the meeting of the Community Revitalization and Advisory Committee. I don't know whether we meeting 10, 11 now at least. So I see Jim, Simone's here. We're also, well, number 6, we'll talk about it, but we're we're welcoming Karen Robinson as the MEDC representative to the committee this evening. So thanks for being with us, Karen, and welcome. And I believe that's it. So we have Chris from the township. We got Florence as always, Aaron and Kathleen, and also Stefan joining us. A few people are not camera ready today, apparently. So at this point in time, I'd like to go to number 3, declaration of any conflicts of interest, please. Silent here. Thank you. Stefan, did you have something to add?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So can we move on to the approval of the agenda?
Someone will need to make a motion for that.
I can do that, Florence.
Thanks.
All right, Karen motions, Simone.
Second.
Second, perfect. All in favor?
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we move on item number 8 up a little earlier in the agenda? I might have to leave early. That's why I'm asking.
I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
Anyone opposed to that? Okay, so we'll move item number 8 up to number 7. We just want to make sure we have our appointee done, Stefan, before we move on to your presentation.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So can we approve the agenda with the slight change, switching 8 for 7 here?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Okay, perfect. Business arising. So like I mentioned before, we have our MEDC appointment. We're very happy. Thank you, Karen, for taking part in this. I'm sure you're gonna have as much fun as we have at these meetings.
Thank you for having me.
Now for B, we have committee vacancies. Florence, you want to speak to that?
So just a reminder to the members that we still have 2 vacancies on the committee, a youth member, so that's someone up to the age of 34, and an Indigenous member. So if you know of anyone, please feel free to have them contact me and I can provide them with the information that they require. And I have also been advertising this whenever we put out a newsletter or the quarterly Did You Know? And I know, Simone, at the last meeting, you had mentioned that you knew some people who might be interested. And did anything come of that?
You're gonna need a mic up, Simone.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I did send them the links that you sent me, Florence. And one would be an Indigenous member, which would be great. The other one would be the youth. So I'm just hoping that they will follow through.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Eric, just to remind you that we still need to do item number 5.
Yeah, I know. I seen it after we got started. Sorry about that. So let's back up. Review and approve the agenda minutes from our last meeting, which was October 22nd. I had a chance to review. I don't see any discrepancies there. Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Simone, Jim, second. Okay, moving on. We already skipped number 6, so let's go straight to number 8, which would be, I'll pass over.
Eric, can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? What age does the youth have to be, Florence?
Anyone under the age of 34.
But what bottom age?
I believe it's 16.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Fantastic. So I'll hand it over to Florence and Stefan for the Community Revitalization Project.
Great, thanks, Eric. I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Stefan, if you can provide us an update. I know that Kim wasn't able to make it tonight, but you know, we are certainly interested in the community improvement plan and where that is at, and again, any feedback that you're getting from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on that.
Okay. Did you receive that draft document, the mandatory grants for private property improvements that I had sent Kim?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, darn. Okay. I had sent her. I had written up a draft of the grant programs that I was going to be recommending, based on the feedback that came in and further discussions. And so what I'll do, do I need to give some background on this side of the program, or can I just start in here? You folks are all familiar with what Forum is doing?
Well, actually, Stefan, if you could back up, because we have one new member on the committee tonight.
Oh, okay. I'll try. The community improvement, in a nutshell, the community improvement project that Forum is outlining will essentially identify physical improvements to the town fabric that they're getting public feedback on, and obviously have, you know, based on their expertise of their own people, recommending and moving forward and suggesting to council. And an additional component of that process is the part that I'm essentially preparing, which is incentive grants for private property improvement, incentive programs, which are often mostly grants. Sometimes they do them as loans, but these days with low interest rates, grants make more sense. In a nutshell, municipalities can adopt a community improvement plan, identify an area for community improvement, adopt a plan that has programs for that area, and then undertake those programs. And in the old days, when there was provincial and federal money available for physical infrastructure improvements, these community improvement plans were essential in order to secure major capital dollars. Those capital dollars have all evaporated in the last decade or so. I mean, there's next to nothing coming down the stream. And so what's happened is community improvement plans have essentially morphed into more of there are things that the municipality will do, and there are things that the municipality will try to encourage private property owners to do. And that's where all the incentive programs come in, incentives for private property improvement. Let's see. The most typical are facade improvement loans, or there's a very weird name for relief of tax from improvements. It's an incremental tax relief improvement. Bottom line on it is, if you improve your property, usually you see a tax increase because of the increased value of the improvement, but the program would free you of that tax increase. You get it rebated for a period of time, depending on what the municipality chooses. So you wouldn't be, in effect, penalized for improving your property. Your property tax status would stay the same for whatever number of years that program was being applied to properties for. And so that encourages people to improve their properties by making significant additions or investments into them, knowing that they're not going to be hammered with a tax right away, but may get one down this, you know, some tax increase later on. So that's a common one. And these, in my role on this thing, I had identified a number of probably a dozen possible improvement programs, and you had canvassed the community about them, and based on the replies and responses, there were some that were more popular than others and some that people were more interested in others. And then as a further follow-up, because community improvements tend to focus on commercial area improvement, I did some follow-up interviews with several people on their replies. And thank you, Florence, for giving me their emails on their replies to the questionnaires, and so got some feedback from them as well, which was very helpful. So on the basis of that, I was suggesting there are several community improvement programs that to me, make sense for Manitouars to consider. Okay, so, and those ones are the shop facades improvement grants, so about a 50% grant up to $5K to improve your storefront. Shop sign improvement grant up to $2,500 at 50% of the cost of it to improve your signage. Mural grant up to $3,500 towards murals, whether it's on your wall or freestanding. Lot landscaping improvement grants. Oh, sorry, let me stop. The ones I just mentioned are all only in the downtown area. The next ones are everywhere. So lot landscaping improvement grants, and these are 50% of the cost, maximum $5K. Building and planning fee grants. So these ones is essentially a rebate of the application fees for building permits or for a rezoning or official plan amendment, those kinds of things that would facilitate development, that are needed for development. So a rebate of those fees. And then there's the tax relief grants for improvements, and that's the one I just talked about, where if your taxes go up, you'll get rebated so that you're not hit with a tax for the first number of years, provided you spend about over $500 of increase in assessment. And I didn't specify in this what I thought the period of time would be, but 5 years or 10 years is 10 years is a lot, but 5 years is quite reasonable, I think. I'll be doing a further recommendation on that aspect of it. And then also municipal land development grant programs, that's where the municipality uses the township in this case uses township-owned lands and offers them at below market value as an incentive for their improvement. And there are a lot of people who are interested in that. So in my recommendations for these incentive programs, I have some details spelled out. There are more details required in terms of implementation, and I'll get that to you in the final document or in the final draft. But essentially, yes, the township can offer incentive programs where the township contributes their dollars, and the landowner contributes their dollars, and everyone results in improvement. And there are some limitations on these. I mean, obviously you can't go on forever with them, and I had suggested that for facades, you'd budget for a maximum of, say, first come, first serve, 6 a year. On signs, perhaps 6 a year. On murals, perhaps 3 a year. On landscaping, perhaps 12 a year. On the fees, there's no net budget effect on the fee relief, so you can have as many as you like. Same thing with the tax relief. There's no net budget cost because you're simply not gaining tax until later to the municipality, and there's no net municipal cost on township land programs. So I provided a cover letter with that again to Kim, and I thought she might have forwarded it, but that suggests to you, that'll give you an idea of the kind of budget you might want to allocate towards these incentive programs. And of course, you can add some or subtract some depending on what the municipality wants to do. But that is, in a nutshell, what CIP improvement programs are and how they would work, and how my recommendations would fit into the form improvement project.
Okay.
Questions?
Thanks, Stefan. I have one question for you. In your experience, is there a limit on the number of programs that a business or property owner can make application for?
Oh, I haven't seen many limits on that because I historically found people are going to do an investment, let's say a facade one, and if it's going to cost them 8 or 10K, um, they're not really jumping into doing some of the other ones just yet. Like one project at a time is usually more than enough for people to handle. So I don't see a lot of duplication or doubling up. I wouldn't be too worried about it, but it's something you may want to put in your guidelines in terms of criteria for approval. Might be, you know, the feasibility of the property owner being able to accomplish all these things in a reasonable time. Because if you've got 2 or 3 applications, it might be pretty tough to get them all done in time.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What's the incentive to the property owner to actually make these improvements? Because we all know that once we make the outside of our homes or our businesses all pretty, MPAC's going to come around and they're going to ding us with our taxes. So,
well, that one of the programs is exactly that one, which is you get the rebate of the tax increase. So MPACs can come around and say, hey, well, your property is worth, you know, 20K more because of all these improvements. So as a result, you're going to have to pay $300 or $400 more a year in tax. Well, what this incentive program, the tax increment relief incentive program, does is say, no, the municipality will rebate you that tax. You pay it, but you get it back at the end of the year for any number of years that the township decides is reasonable. Some townships have gone as long as 20 years because if someone's, you know, investing $1 million into some major development, then it's quite a strong incentive for them not to have to pay taxes on that, and yet the amount of money they're spending will generate jobs and purchases and so on. So that's one of the reasons municipalities are interested in that program. But for property owners, yeah, it shouldn't. It essentially removes that whammo that you were just talking about getting hit by taxes. That's one of the programs. On the other programs like facade improvement or sign improvement, those typically will not result in an increase in assessment. They may improve the quality of the building, but in terms of the way MPAC formulates property value, I know all the codes that they use, and there is one code for quality of construction or quality of building materials, but it's a marginal factor in the valuation of tax increases. By far, the biggest one is square footage and value of construction value of the improvements by far, in terms of tax increases or changes.
Stefan, I have another question for you, and I'm probably going to take the words out of Chris's mouth. Chris is our treasurer.
Yep.
So the tax relief improvement program, although you say there's a net zero impact on the township, if MPAC assesses the property and then there is a $300 or $400 increase in taxes, I would think that the township would have to provide that in the form of a grant back to the township. Like we give a rebate to the property owner, but the township is now out that money.
Well, you're not out it because if the improvement never occurred, you would never have gotten it, right?
Right, and maybe Chris can help me out here. So, but our values.
Gee, thanks, Florence.
You're welcome.
I did have prior conversations with Florence about this matter, and within an approved community improvement plan, we can come up with a plan on how we're going to deal with MPAC's assessments. I think we're very early in the stages at this time. I'm not even sure really where or how we would deal with this. I believe in Manitowoc right now it would be very small. It'd be a bit of an administrative hiccup just to get, for lack of a better term, just to get the ball rolling on it. There is definitely going to be an impact as MPAC does the assessments, and that's the part of the formula we use for our taxation for the year.
For sure. But Chris, what the incentive program essentially says is that, let's say there's a property who's paying $2,000 in taxes. He makes an improvement, a commercial property, make improvement, and the net result is next year he'll have to pay $2,400. So you would have gotten the extra $400 in taxes. But if he didn't make the improvement, you wouldn't get anything. It would still be $2,000. That's my whole point.
No, correct. And I understand that. And I think I think part of the problem that I see with this, just on a different level, is that our assessment base is already very low. And to rebate, and I do understand that when people do improvements to their property, someone builds a fence or does new siding, their assessment goes up, and they shouldn't be penalized because they improved their property, as opposed to the neighbor who's letting the property fall apart. But at the same time, our assessment is low and unrational.
Yeah, well, and what happens is, I mean, this program doesn't last forever. It lasts for how long council decides. So if council says, yes, we'd like the tax relief program for 5 years, that's great. Then after 5 years, the guy's going to be paying you that $400 extra in taxes. It's a tax holiday for a while. Council determines what that a while is. In the city of Thunder Bay, I think, no, in some other cities they've done 20-year tax holiday. In some cases they've done 5-year tax holidays. And in fact, in one program I recall, because I know I was dealing with the applicant, it was infinite. It was until the value of the rebate matched the value of the improvement. So that was, I think it worked out to like 67 years. The point is that council decides how much of a holiday they want to offer and how strong an incentive they want to offer to residents. But the bottom line on it is if there's no improvement, there's no increase in tax, ever. So you're trying to generate improvements so that you'll have a future increase, so that A, the place will be nicer, and B, and eventually you will be getting those taxes from those improvements. I hope that helps, Chris.
Yeah, no, I understand the concept, and I agree with what we're trying to do here. I'm totally on board. It's just, the impact assessment that we have is extremely low, and I do find there's going to be some complications, but we'll work with it as we always do.
Okay, we can talk more about it later too, if you want, Chris, separately.
Yes, and I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
It would be good to hear how other municipalities view it and what they do in terms of making sure that that council offers the holiday, but does that mean that there has to be a budget to replace those funds?
No, because you never would have gotten those funds in the first place. That's my whole point. But anyway, but the other thing is that these community improvement programs are often installed for a limited time period. Like for a 5-year, you can apply for these things, or for an 8-year period, or they expire. So it's a limited window of opportunity for property owners, and that it's not there forever. So. That is a way to try and speed up and encourage people to take advantage of these incentive programs. So I know in other towns the incentive programs expire. The community improvement plan expires. It's good till December of whatever year you want, and so that gives the municipality a better handle on being able to budget how much they would have to allocate for murals or facade improvements or incentives or landscape fees and so on.
Okay, and so the other question I had was, has there been any feedback from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on this?
I originally, when I talked to the fellow Robert Eady over there, who's responsible for your area, he said, yeah, that's fine. It looks like a pretty, what you folk are doing is sounds like a pretty standard approach to community incentive programs. If he sees anything that suddenly causes him a concern, he'll let me know, but otherwise he thinks it's all just moving along fine.
Okay, and is this something that has to be approved by the minister?
The community improvement plans are adopted by bylaw. So the bylaws have to be adopted by council, like the bylaw identifying the area and the bylaw adopting the plan.
Okay, but from the MMAH perspective, there's no...
They're circulated copies of all of that, and they have the opportunity to comment, and they have a little, obviously, more power. They can direct you to do stuff, but other than that, so they'll be in on the process. But I suspect that because I know the expertise that's there, I know what they're going to generally be saying. Pretty well on board with the whole approach we're taking.
Okay, very good.
All right. Any other questions? I will talk to Kim and see if she forwarded these two written things that I had prepared last week. Because certainly if you don't have them, then she'll send them to you. That's for sure. Okay.
Yep.
That'll give you something much more concrete to review and consider.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for your time and your presentation, Stefan.
Yeah, I know. Happy to talk to you. I only wish I could be there. I so much prefer live, seeing who we're talking to, and it just. But anyway, we move with the technology and the restrictions that we have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, folks. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. Welcome, Owen. Just so you know, for the agenda, we moved 7 and 8 around just so Stefan could present and leave us a little earlier than expected. So now we're going to go to number 7, which was the multi-use trails master plan.
Great, thanks, Eric. So just to let you know that we have received the draft recommendations for the Trails Master Plan, and those recommendations are available on the mymanitouage.ca website. And so we are asking the public to comment on the draft recommendations, and the deadline for that is December the 1st. And then once that's complete, the consultants will wrap up the plan and send us a copy of that for review. There are some really great recommendations in there. So if you haven't looked at them yet, I encourage you to do so, and also share with family and friends and get them to comment as well.
Great. Any questions for Florence about the master plan at this point? I guess it's just to log into mymanitouage.ca and go have a look for yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. Thanks, Florence. Moving on, you have the floor again for number 9, the community rebranding project.
Okay, great. As I was looking down at my agenda, I realized I'm still using the old logo. So I put a big extra and a note to update that for the next agenda. But just to thank everyone who came out to the flag raising event last week now, and time is going too quickly. It was a great event. We got some really great press coverage. TBT News was here, and they also had a clip on the Northwest Newsweek. And good coverage from CFNO and the Chronicle Journal as well. So we were really happy to be able to do that. The flags look great. And MPP Mike Mantha was also present for that. So we do have our business cards out for print right now. I'm expecting them back in the next few days. And looking now to updating the banners along Manitou and in the downtown core. We have been working with Stephanie from Fire Dog to do the design on the banners. I have asked the MEDC if they would like to partner with us on that project. Karen, do you have any updates on that request?
Our last meeting was, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah,
Our last meeting was Thursday. And I'm sorry to say it wasn't brought to the table. So I'm not sure exactly where Grant, whether he just forgot about it or whether it just wasn't on. We have another meeting coming up, so I can make sure that it is on there. But when was your deadline, Florence?
Well, we'd like to get them ordered before the end of the year, and then they'll be ready to go up in the spring.
Now, was Grant given a price on them? I just wasn't sure.
No, we won't know the price until we know the design. So
okay. I'll bring that back, Florence, to the EDC.
Okay, that's great.
And I'll get Grant to get back to you.
Okay. So I did do a drive through the community and counted about 51 banners from the entrance of the community down Manitou and then into the downtown core. I noticed that there wasn't any along the waterfront by Prospector Park. So I think that would be a good location to have them as well. So we'll wait to hear from the EDC and then determine how many banners we will purchase. And that if we could, like the Economic Development Office could pay for the design for both the EDC and the township's banners so that there's some similarities to them and that they work well together. Is there any other questions about rebranding and where to go next?
Well, that silence means a lot. So thanks, Lawrence. I'm sure that our next meeting will have, you'll have another update for us, I'm sure.
Yes.
So,
Florence, do we want to mention the copywriting and stuff that we talked about?
We did talk about copywriting the logo and having a bit more control over who uses the logo and for what purpose. So it isn't that people can't use the logo. It's that because we have a style manual and guidelines with the logo, that we want to ensure that if someone is using the logo, that they're using the right version of the logo and following the style guidelines that have been provided to us in terms of whether it's online use or whether it's in print. There's different versions for that. And then, as you know, we have a full color, a gradient color, a black and white, a grayscale, in different sizes. And with just the M, with just Manitouage, and then with Manitouage Better Natured. So there's guidelines around all of those versions, and we want to make sure that if people are using the logo, that it's, again, the right version to be using. So copywriting that will allow us to have a bit more control over that, the use of that.
We've had requests, and right now we're just cautious. I think it's important that council approval policy, and as Florence says, the first step will be get the copyright, and then we can have a proper policy in place and then help those people that are interested in using it.
Thanks, Owen. I just noticed from your picture, it's like you got the snow cap on your head next to the other two snow caps in the logo. No, that's great. One question I have, since we were talking about banners, it came to mind when you were talking about the copyright. Do you have a plan, Florence, for the multiple billboards that are like, they're all different? Like I noticed like the one coming off of Industrial and then the one on 614 and you have a plan for that, or is it just too far down the road right now?
It's not too far down the road. It'll actually be part of the community revitalization plan when we get that. So it'll be a signage strategy in terms of a consistent marketing of the community. And that was, one of the key questions in the revitalization survey, and the placement of those messages. Now, the MTO does control the billboards along the highway, and some of the comments that we saw in the survey were regarding the billboards that provide information on violence against women and access to shelters. So we don't have control of the locations of those signs. The owners of those signs pay a permit to the MTO for that placement. But what we can do is work with the MTO that when that billboard permit expires, we can opt in to place a billboard on that location, so that moves the location of the existing sign if they want to renew it to another location. So we kind of have to just keep our eye on that. But again, any billboard that we put up will follow our community revitalization guidelines, and also the design and the placement of that will be decided. If the Community Revitalization Committee continues on, that would be part of the mandate of the Revitalization Committee.
Great, thank you so much. Any other business, Kathleen, Aaron, anything that you guys want to talk about?
Well, just mentioned, like, the Northern Ontario Recovery Program closed on Friday. That was a short-term grant for businesses affected by COVID. And we are hoping for new NOHFC programs to launch in early January 2021. And there's also a short-term PPE grant that's $1,000 if anybody is aware of other businesses that needed to purchase PPE. It's $1,000, and there's lots of information online about that as well.
Is that $1,000 also available for nonprofits?
No, I believe it's just for businesses.
Okay, thank you.
So two things. So the first thing is lots of discussion around town and in my office about your new logo and the slogan and everything. Everyone's chirping away about it, saying how wonderful it is and how awesome it is. So that's nice to hear. This is kind of like off topic, but kind of has to do with businesses. So we've been given the go ahead. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of HR Downloads. It's a program that is provided to businesses that already have existing policies and procedures and manuals and all that stuff. So it's a $600 annual fee, and we can offer them to businesses right now for free through Superior North.
That's great, thank you.
Question for you, Aaron. Would municipalities be able to access those as well?
Yes, they sure can.
Okay, great. I'll contact you to get more information on that.
Okay, sounds good.
The HR download, Aaron, is it kind of like what most group benefit plans offer employers, that you have basically pre-populated forms or HR specialists that if you need a certain policy developed, whatnot, that's the kind of service that they offer?
Yeah, to that extent. It has nothing to do with insurance, but when it comes to like policies, procedures, when it comes to running your business, employees, all that sort of stuff, they're already, it's like a prefab document, but there's thousands of them. And there's people you can tap into for, I guess, a little more expertise when it comes down to if you needed to more like target something specific.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so that brings us to our next meeting. I was actually going to make the recommendation, Florence, and you would know if we have any deadlines or whatnot that we need to have our meeting in December, if we'd be able to skip one and move it to January. Do you have anything that needs to be discussed, decided at that meeting?
Let me circle back with Kim, because I am expecting her to provide some preliminary designs for the community revitalization. She thought that she would be able to get them to me by the end of this week. So maybe if we could even move the meeting up to the first week of December, if that was helpful. I want to make sure that you guys have a look at these preliminary designs in order to give Kim some feedback so that she can continue working on them over the holidays. But I'll circle back with you and confirm that by the end of this week.
Okay, that's fantastic. So unless we have anything else, I think that if I can get a motion to adjourn the meeting at the time of 7:41.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Simone. Someone second? Great. So thanks for being here, everyone, again. And it's always a pleasure seeing everyone, even though it's on the screens. Always some good discussions around our table. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Eric.
Thank you.
Everybody.